Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Jackson. I am here again for another amazing interview with our Black Ink Book Festival authors. And they're going to be here to talk about their books, to talk about what it is that they're going to be doing on May 3rd here in New Orleans at the Black Ink Book Festival. This is our third year. So we're so excited to do this. And we're excited because we love storytelling. Okay. That's why we are hosting this event. It is because of the love of the written word and nothing else. And so the Black Ink Book Festival is going to take place at City Park's Pavilion of the Two Sisters. I will have some information at the bottom of the screen so that you can know how to register for that event. And you can go to the URL or go to Eventbrite and you can register. It is a free event. You can bring your children. We will have music, we will have speakers, we will have reading in the garden, as well as we're going to be giving away free books as well. And so we do ask that you come out. We will also this year, which is different, we're going to be doing the Black Ink short film premiere from 1 to 3 p.m. The book festival is from 11 to 3. So from 1 to 3, you can go in and you can see 5 short films for $20. And those short films are all made from Black filmmakers. In addition, for those out there who have kids who are interested in getting into film, we will be doing auditions that morning from 9 to 12 o'clock for the On the Set Celebrity Film Camp that will take place in New Orleans the week of June 2nd through 13th. But the auditions will take place on May 3rd. So if you're interested in that, don't hesitate to contact me at events@prsolutionsllc.org, and I'll definitely drop that in the comments. But for now, we have 3 dynamic authors who are here to talk about their work. They're going to be bringing that work, of course, to Black Ink. And you'll be able to learn about them, learn about their work, learn about their writing process, which is always so impactful. We may have a few others that will chime in at some point, so don't be a little shaken if we bring some new authors on the screen. But for now, let's bring in our authors so you can get to know them. Hi, ladies. How you doing?
Good.
Hi. This is so amazing. Black Ink, this is our 3rd year. This is, I think, our 6th book fair. During COVID, we did 3 of them virtual. So to be able to now do live book fairs and to have had so much success with it, we have hundreds of people that come out. We sell hundreds and hundreds of books. But more than that, we are introducing people to new authors. And so that's what's important to me. And that's why we like to do these interviews so that you can meet the authors beforehand, come out, get an autographed copy of their work, meet them, get to put a face with the back of the cover picture, and get to learn about their process. So tonight, that's what we're going to be doing. If you're out there and you have any questions for our authors, you can drop them on YouTube, which I do ask you to subscribe to our YouTube page, or you can drop them on Facebook at author Michelle D. Jackson. But for now, we're going to get started by having our authors introduce themselves and tell us about their work. And if they have their book, they're going to hold it up so that you can get a look at it. So let's start with you, Ruth. Tell us about yourself and tell us about your work.
Okay. Good evening, everybody in the audience. My name is Ruth Redmond, and I am a 62-year-old retiree from, believe it or not, the DC Fire Department, which I was actually a firefighter. I'm a mother of 3 daughters. I have 5 grandchildren. And another thing about me, I love music, of course, reading. I have a good sense of humor. And I'm just excited to join. This will be my 1st year and possibly not my last. So I'm very excited to be a part of this posse.
Oh, man, a firefighter. We have so much to talk about with you. So your book, is the book about your experiences as a firefighter?
Some of it is. I'm getting a lot of requests at other book events that I attend to do a part 2 or volume 2, because my book is a memoir it's titled Within the Fire, I Found My Voice. And it's really meaning within the fire is talking about all the health and life challenges that I went through. That's my fire. But I found my voice because out of each chapter, I talk about how I got out of it. And so they love the book. It's an easy read. I've got so many rave reviews on it. However, I am getting requests to do a part two because they saying if I did 27 years on the job, I have 27 years of experience, and I do because I also was an EMT. So I'm really thinking about doing another book. Going to be somewhat graphic because in this book, it was more authenticity, and I didn't want to go deep into a lot of stuff at the fire department what I've seen. But my next book, I think I'm going to explain a lot. I'm going to really dive deep in it to really let the audience know what, not just me, but all firefighters, male and females, what we really, really go through in a 24-hour shift. And I'm also, in my book, the last chapter talks about within my fire, before I retired from the job, I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mhm.
So the last chapter ends with that and how I recovered, how I stopped saying why me to why not me to write this book.
Excellent. I love that. It's a book of bravery and courage and inspiration. And I do encourage everyone come out. I mean, I've never met a retired African American female firefighter. I'm just going to be honest with you. Maybe I'm just I mean, I have friends that are male firefighters, but
Right.
I've never met a female. And so that's inspiring in itself. So thank you so much for your service, first of
Thank
all.
you.
And I'm looking forward to meeting you and getting the opportunity to get your book. So thank you so
Oh,
much for being
yes.
with us. Dee
Yeah.
Dee?
And also, it also
Okay.
talks about my gender disparity when I came on the job.
I can only imagine. I
Mhm.
can only imagine. That's what I'm yeah, you got to do book 2 and 3. We ready. You can get started tonight. So maybe you can have one done by next week. So that'll be good. I love that. So that's good stuff. That's good. Thank you
Thanks.
so much for being with us. Dee Dee, you want to talk about yourself? Tell us about that fantasy that you're writing.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. My name is Didi Anofinum. I'm the author of the Estienne of Alkebulan Descendants of Fire and Water fantasy series. Book one came out December 5th, 2023. And book two will be out May 27th, 2025. I will have copies of book one and pre orders available for book two. So I am originally from Houston, Texas. I currently live in Los Angeles County. Besides being an author, I'm also an educator. I work with students in grades K through 12. Right now, I'm working with students in 5th through 12. I also founded a nonprofit, the Writing School LA, to give back to my community, to support the literacy rates of students all over the US, but definitely starting right here in LA County. Literacy is so important, whether you're a reader or writer. And I just have this passion that I want to help, kids learn to love reading and writing as much as I do. And for kids who, don't see any other way out, their education and their love of books and writing can be their way out. So it's kind of like my mission. In addition to writing my own books, I want to help encourage the next generation to write their stories and, tell um, bring their creations to life.
I love that. I have your book on my shelf. I've read, so I haven't finished it, but I have started it, and it's just, it's writing fantasy. I can only imagine is very difficult because now you're world building. You're creating worlds that the reader can identify with, even if they don't understand all the mystery behind them. And so I love that. I love the genre, but I can only imagine how tough it is to write a fantasy book. What inspires you to write fantasy? And what there are not a lot of African American fantasy writers that we hear about. Also, I mean, I guess we would put, who would we put? I'm missing her name. It's Octavia Butler in that category. And
Yes,
so,
that's
yeah, tell us what inspires you to write
Yeah, I
fantasy.
love that question. So I write fantasy because I have a really vivid imagination. And I'm always wondering, like, what if this happened? Or what if that never happened? And the idea for A Scene of Alkebulan came from me wondering, what would the world be like if Africa had never been colonized? If Africa had been able to develop and grow without any external interference? And then once I was writing book two, then I started exploring, what if America had never been colonized and indigenous nations were able to develop this country with the way they would have wanted it to develop. And then as I was writing book 3 and 4, coming back to your question about how hard it is, I kind of like put it to the side because it got to a point where it's like really, really difficult imagining what would other countries be like? What would South America be like if it hadn't been colonized? What would Australia be like if it hadn't been colonized? What would Asia be like if it hadn't been colonized? And so I had to like go back to the drawing board and do some more research because fantasy, like you're creating something from nothing. So like it requires a lot more of you, starting with having a really strong imagination. So I get inspired by, like, right now I'm really inspired by other authors like Nnedi Okorafor, of course, Octavia Butler. All of her works are amazing and like so relevant. Yeah, so
It's funny. I love that. When I read Octavia Butler, I think I was in high school. I read Kindred. And I remember just being blown away at her imagination. I write fiction as well. And it's very different to write fiction. You have to build these characters in this world and you get lost in it and you love it. Like I fall in love with my characters and they begin to speak to me. I don't tell anybody because they may put me away, but they begin to speak to me. And that's a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for being with us. Yvonne, which I'm not going to call you Yvonne. You are a UK lady. I love that. Talk to us about your work. Tell us who you are and then talk to us about your work.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Yvonne Cooper, better known as UK Lady Rhyme. Really simple. Most of my work, my poetry rhymes. I'm known for writing like kid-friendly language that the students can understand. I've been an educator for over 25 years as an assistant principal. And I work firsthand with students who struggle with just focusing, focusing. And as you know, as an assistant principal, a lot of the behavioral referrals, students are referred to me. Most of the time, as one little boy said to me, Miss Cooper, I can't help it. My brain just keeps on going around. And that really made me think of, wow, these kids, and remember, most of the students are referred to the office are African American males, and they're out of the classroom in my office trying to just figure things out. And they really cannot help it. They really cannot. So just finding a tool, that's my goal, my passion, to help students try to figure things out. So this is one book on ADHD, and the title is "Oh No, I Can't Focus." So I have an "Oh No" series, and my goal is to turn all the "Oh No's" into "Oh Yes, I Can." So that was the whole purpose behind writing.
You know, I love that, and you made me think of something. I've been having this conversation ongoing with my husband. I have an 18-year-old, and we both. I teach at Tulane. My husband teaches at SUNO, Southern University of New Orleans. And we're reading all this material about the fact that our young Black men aren't going to college. And so data is showing that the numbers have fallen off tremendously. And, you know, raising a young man, you know, he's 18 now. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? What are we missing? What are we not hearing from our young Black men that are keeping them from wanting to, continue in their education? And this is a problem for us. It's not a problem just for them. People want to say, oh, they're just bad. They don't want to do anything. But like you said, when your door open and it's a behavior, it's a lot of young Black men. And so that is something that I think as writers, it's so great that you're trying to tackle ADHD, that you're talking about, talking to them in a way that they can understand it. And so thank you for what you do. But this is an ongoing conversation that we're having. And I think that the books that we're creating can be very helpful in that regard. It can be inspirational. It can shine a light on something that I think a lot of folks aren't even paying attention to because of all the other things that are going on now. But we've got to make sure our young Black men are going to college. And if they're not going to college, get a trade, but do something with your life
Yes.
versus they were saying they're not even in the workforce. Not only are they not going to college, but they're not in the workforce. So this is great to hear. And you're going to be bringing your books out. And because you are a poet, I do invite you to come to the stage at some point and read a poem. So get yourself ready for that, because I will
Okay.
direct you and bring you up there to do it. So at the Black Ink, we're going to have over 50 authors out showing their work. Not only that, but we will also have music. We will have reading in the garden. We will have the short film festival, as well as speakers. So it's going to be a dynamic day. So let's go around, since it's just us. Let's talk a little bit about this inspiration and the what encouraged you, what gave you the confidence. And let's start with you, Ruth. The confidence to put this on paper, because what people don't know is that writing isn't for everybody. Everybody doesn't write a book. It is not easy. It is not something, it's fun, but if you're serious about it and you're passionate about it, it can, it's therapeutic. It helps you to deal with your own issues and challenges, but it also is a great opportunity to share something with the world that you may have never shared before. And as you said, Ruth, you're writing a memoir. I know there are things in there that you shared that someone said to you, I didn't know this
Mhm.
about you. So talk to us about the courage you had to get. What's that? What happened that helped, that gave you the courage to put pen to paper and to write your book?
Well, to be honest with you, prior to even thinking about being an author, um, when I was a fire inspector, I went to a storefront, and she was a fortune teller. And after, like I said, I have a sense of humor, and she's like, "What are you coming to my store for?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, you're a fortune teller. You should know what I'm coming in here for." But anyway, that broke the ice. And after I did her inspection, she asked to read my hand, and I wasn't going to do it. And she actually told me, "No, this is honest truth." She asked me, "Have I ever written anything? Have I ever been in a newspaper or an article?" And I'm like, "No, why would I? No." Years later, when I was in my cadet class, they had me being the speaker for the whole class. So I didn't know that was preparing me for this. And then when I was an investigator, which is all in my book, I had to speak in front of a jury because I had an arson case. And I was on a grand jury stand. So I had to speak fluently and knowledgeable of what I'm doing. And then when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, I had a few female friends that she put me on her podcast, and she put it live on her Facebook page, and it got a lot of hits. And from them hits, that's when people were asking, "You're inspirational. You've been through a lot. You don't look like what you've been through. You need to put it in the book." So this was in 2016. My book just got published in 2023. So that's how long it took. So, and then life be happening. So I had to stop. And then once I got into the groove of writing, I kept going and try to sort out my chapters so it can easily flow, in which that it does flow very well, which I was complimented on. And like I said, it starts from me when I was a toddler, that I went through some stuff as a toddler, and it says I almost died within another month or two. I would have died, and I said, "Oh wow, you know what? God knew me, but I didn't know Him. For Him to preserve me to do this." So that's what inspired me to write the book. Other people kept saying, write the book, because you're inspiration. You've been through a lot, from toddler, adolescence, from my marriage being called off 2 weeks prior to walking down. I am like a TV drama person. Tyler Perry, here I am. Because, yeah, my wedding was called off, but I explained at the end how we became best friends. That's how I found my fire. Then it goes into the fire department, and then, like I said, to my breast cancer diagnosis. So with that being said, I just was inspired by everybody else saying, put it in a book. So that's what encouraged me to do it. It took a long time, but now I'm, like you want me to do, part two. And also I'm thinking about, I was requested to do a children's book on female
Yeah.
firefighter.
I think that's excellent. I think I was thinking the same thing. That would be so great for our young girls to see you. and a children's book. Life be life, and I mean, I just turned 50. I mean, I'm about to turn 51, and I look over my life, and it's just like you said, so many things happen in the course of a lifetime, and you know, I'm hoping I have more days. But if I stopped now and wrote a book, I think people would be shocked with the things that I've experienced. So I love that you had the bravery to write it, because you have to be very authentic when you write a memoir, and people know when you're not being authentic.
Mhm.
And so getting to a place, I always say, it's like writing a contract with yourself. You're writing this contract to say, I will be authentic despite what will be said or perceived about me, because readers know when you're not telling it all. And
Mhm.
so that's really great. Didi, talk to us. Now, I know fantasy, you're building worlds, but you're building worlds based on something real. I believe every book is based on real experiences. Whether the main character is a bear in a children's book, that bear represents something and someone or some experience that you've had in your life. So talk to us about what gave you the courage to write it. And is there something that you really wanted to, first of all, when you talk about what would have happened to these countries, these continents, if they weren't colonized, that in itself is a history lesson. So I know in your research, you had to do quite a bit of research. Talk to us about something that you learned in building these worlds, a world that I would assume would have been a lot more peaceful, a lot less. There's probably a little less or a lot less systemic racism and discrimination. Different things that we're dealing with. What did
Mhm.
you learn about? What did you learn that you wanted to share with us, or you want to share with your readers that you may not have been able to put in the book in
Yeah.
doing that? Mm-hmm.
I learned so much about the kingdoms throughout West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa that nobody ever learns about, like the kingdom of Mali, the kingdom of Senegambia, the kingdom of Ghana. There were all these prosperous African civilizations in a place in the world that we've been lied to that was nothing but trees and naked people, right? So learning about like the Wall of Benin, which was built in by I guess what would be modern day Nigerians, and how they built a wall to protect their town, their village that was more technologically advanced than the Wall of China. But everyone's heard about the Wall of China. Nobody's heard about the Wall of Benin. Um, the fact that some of these civilizations had electricity and roads and really organized governments, and like this, it was mind blowing to me. Like it was all new information to me that I had never learned. And one of the things that I did was I redrew the map of Africa. I took the liberty of redrawing the map of Africa. So I had to decide like where were the tribes,
Mm-hmm.
which ones might have gotten more powerful based on like whatever their language skills, their weaponry, their technology. What countries would they have formed? What states, what districts would they have formed? How would they be different from the one right next to it, the one further south? And it was really interesting. And maybe I'm a little bit biased. I'm half Igbo, so I made Igbo culture like really dominant. And maybe someone else might write this story, and they might make Zulu culture really dominant, or like one of the cool things was for me was like taking the history that was there and then kind of like remixing it and like making it my own. There's a lot of pressure to like it's not historical fiction, right? It's fantasy, so I have a lot of liberty to like change things as much as I want, but also there's a little bit of like wanting to stay at least somewhat true to like the real world. And it's so interesting that like I made Africa a country in this book with a president, and we've spent like decades saying Africa's not a country. Okay, but what if it was? What if it was? So I'm really excited about the prospect of like taking history and remixing it and like giving it like a really shiny polish so that it's prettier because like I've said it, I was at AWP a couple weeks ago. I did a panel there on Afro fantasy, and African history has been really like apocalyptic was a term I used, to the point that like some Black people in America don't even want to associate themselves with being African, despite like, okay, we think you're not African, get an ancestry DNA test, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about your lineage. And so part of my inspiration was reclaiming our history, empowering our history, removing the denigration and the dehumanization that has been inflicted on us as Afro descendants, and just like giving it a facelift, if you will. So that's
I love so much about what you're saying is so dynamic. I would challenge you to put what you learn about the kingdoms and different things in a book, even if it's not. You don't have to go super deep, because I think sometimes I read books that are there to explain the history of Africa, and it leaves me confused because it's not something I've been exposed to. I mean, as African Americans, you would think we've been exposed to Africa, but a lot of us just have not. We know as a continent, but we don't know about all the kingdoms and all the different the technologies and different things that came out of the country. It was very intentional to not teach us, right? It was very intentional, and so a lot of us don't know what we don't know. But I would love to just pick your mind on those things, because I could only imagine when you're trying to write this, and I almost hate that it's called fantasy because it sounds like it's just a made believe story, but it really is ingrained in a truthfulness about the fact that our history has been lost. I never forget hearing someone call Africa the dark continent, and I understand that's a term. People may think about the shades of our skin, but it's not. It's about the fact that we literally have no. A lot of us have no history. We have no memory. We know nothing about Africa except for what we've been taught by a very biased system. So very good. I love that you were able to understand and answer the question the way you did, because I'm like, oh, if she's reworking worlds, she's digging in, she's getting in there good. So thank you for sharing that with us. Yvonne, talk to us about that. I mean, you're an educator, you're an administrator, and what happens if you get this wrong in this book, right? Every parent, every kid is going to call you up and say, no, that's not how it works. You're talking ADHD, something that a lot of people, especially a lot of African American kids, are diagnosed with. Some people will argue that it's real. Some people argue that it's just a medical term that has a label that doesn't mean anything. I meet people who with ADHD as adults, and they said, "Hey, I've had it my whole life. I'm functioning. I'm fine." But what gave you the courage to want to write your children's book? And what did you learn?
So, particularly with this book, I think it was more so the emphasis on seeing things from the child's perspective. I hear from the adults all the time, but it's the children hearing from their perspective, how they feel, how they're dealing with it. And you're right. There are some students who they have the label, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they do have the true diagnosis of ADHD. However, today we're living in an era that everything is quick, everything is fast. We're competing against the media, TV. So it's really a challenge for teachers today to keep students focused in the classroom. So they have to learn different engagement strategies. And if they don't, they lose those kids. So this is definitely going directly to those students who have that true diagnosis and need help. They need affirmation. So, oh, this is what I'm feeling. There's somebody else that feels this way also. And these are some things that I can do in this moment. Simple things. And it is a self-help book for students. And there are specific strategies that they can use, from breathing, all kinds of different things that are in this book. at the end of all of my books, I always give self-help tips that they can use and that their parents can help them also.
Love that. I was just saying to the first group that I interviewed how often I hear that there aren't books, children's books out there with Black characters. There aren't children's books out there that show Black people. And I'm going, well, if you're only looking at the bestsellers list,
Mm-hmm.
then you probably, that's very true. But if you're looking at all of our writers who are coming with so much serious background experience working in these fields, writing books about confidence and like yours, ADHD and so many different things that are impacting specifically our kids, there are books out there, but you have to be intentional about finding them. And so that's why this book fair is so important, is because at this book fair, you've got 50 authors in a room who have books that are showing characters that are Black, that are brown, that people can connect with. And it's important that we continue to do these types of things. We've got book bans, we've got so many things that we're up against. So we have to push our books, and readers have to be intentional about finding those books. I've gone through the whole ADHD process, and it really is, it's tough. It's a tough diagnosis because some people will say, don't do anything. I have a doctor to say, don't do anything, it'll go away with age. And then you have those that say this is going to be debilitating for the rest of the person's life. And you don't know where to fall. You don't know how to, okay, what does this mean? Should we get on medicine? No, we shouldn't. Should we just use techniques on how to handle it? Is it anxiety? How do we deal? So all these different questions, and there's nothing that you can just quickly go to. So it's very good that you're writing this book. We have some questions. We have a question to come up. I would love to get everybody. This is LaShonda Keller, and actually LaShonda is going to be at the book fair. She's an author as well. She said, what part of the writing process do you find most challenging, and how do you overcome it? Anybody want to take that? Ruth, you want to take that? Oh, I've got you mute. I'm sorry. Hold on. There you go. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The most challenging part was to actually sit down and write it and put my thoughts together. I also didn't use any names, so that was hard because I didn't, I just didn't want to put any names in my book, even though it is a true, authentic book. So that was challenging. And some of the parts that brought back memories, especially when I talk about my actual diagnosis, and I go through the steps of the actual day I had my surgery. And I even put in my book, as I'm writing this, I'm tearing up. Mm-hmm. So that was challenging, but that was healing as well. Mm-hmm. So that's helped me to finish my book.
Excellent. Dee Dee or Yvonne, you want to talk a little bit about what's the most challenging part of writing?
I think for me, it's making sure I have the space and the time to do that. One of the things is I used to do back in the day is literally go to a hotel, find a quiet spot, and just write. I had to have the right atmosphere and everything, but that kind of got a trend for me that I made time to do that. So that was a challenge for me earlier on, and I'm kind of found a way through that.
Excellent. If we have more questions out there, guys, please drop those questions. We want to hear from you. We have 4 writers on the screen. We're here to share, so be sure to drop your questions. Dee Dee, you want to talk a little bit about what was the hardest part for you?
Yeah, I would say the hardest part is hyping myself up that there's an audience for what I'm writing, that there's people out there that actually want to read my words or are interested in my story, because we don't have to do this. Nobody has to be a writer. There's nothing forcing us to do this unless you're under contract and you have a deadline coming up. But this is something that we take on voluntarily, maybe out of an internal pressure or wanting to motivate other people. So for me, the hardest part is just convincing myself that the words that I have to say are valuable and that they can, contribute to the well-being or the creativity or the life of someone else.
I think absolutely. I think I take all 3. Everything that everyone said is exactly what I struggle with as a writer. I also, the the getting started part is tough, but staying confident in the writing process is really
Yeah.
tough for me. It's like you said, Dee Dee, you get in there and you're like, do I have an audience for this? Should I change it? Should I move it around? Should I write for the reader? I mean, for the reader, or should I write for myself? I mean, am I, and then all the questions about, do I self-publish? Do I traditionally publish? I mean,
Mm.
for those out there who's never written a book, if you know someone who's written a book, I don't care if that book is 100 pages or 500 pages, know that the level of intensity of decision making, of things that have to be done, and the organizational skills of a writer are amazing. Because some of us will write a book and start in the middle of the book writing the story and have to go back and write the beginning. And I do all kinds. I wrote my last book. I was telling somebody this. I've never done this before, but I literally wrote it in my phone, in my notes. And I would write the book, write a chapter, send it to myself, and put it on, in a Microsoft document. And I've never done that before, but I was doing it because I don't like opening my laptop. I've always got my phone in my hand, so why not use it? And when I started doing that, I feel like I flowed. It was like, okay, everything just started. I'm just sitting there. I'm just sitting somewhere waiting, and I'm just writing on my phone. And so that was the first time I've ever done that. And I really was like, okay, this is crazy. But I wrote 60,000 words doing that. And
Mm.
so it gave me an opportunity to use a new tool and to be able to write anywhere versus feeling like I've got to get up at 6 in the morning and up, because I'm not a structured writer. I don't know about you guys, but I want to be more. I want to say I write 8 hours a day. I just don't. I write when I want to write. Anybody else? Anybody more
Yeah.
structured than me?
I
Please.
started the artist way, which is like, you probably heard people talking about it. It's like this 12-week program that's supposed to help you unblock your creativity. And one of the steps that is essential is writing every single day. And I'm struggling with that because I don't write every single day. I follow the vibes. Like, if the inspiration comes to me and I have something to write, I'm going to do that. I never say, okay, it's 8 a.m. now I'm going to start writing and I must write this certain amount of pages, which I wish I was like that. I feel like I would have more books published if I was more consistent. So on one hand, I'm hoping the artist way really helps me to become more consistent as a writer. But on the other hand, I know myself, and I know that because the kind of writer I am, I pray and then I follow the divine inspiration. Whatever it says to me, that's what I put on the page. So that might be harder to like fit into a schedule. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
didn't
agree
have a
with
schedule.
Edie. I'm the same too. Like what she said about divine inspiration. My best work, I literally sleep with a journal, and as the ideas come to me, it just starts flowing, and that's how I know, like, okay, let me get this, But yeah, most of the time it is that way. But I would love to say I'm that person who has the computer and doing it that way. No, I'm kind of old school. I have lots and lots of journals, and all my thoughts go in the journals first. I know it's double work, but I feel that too. That almost like that divine inspiration. It's such a good feeling, when it's just flowing.
Yeah, I was the same way. I wasn't structured, of course, because it's my first book. But believe it or not, I couldn't only write till 8 o'clock at night. I couldn't do it in the daytime. It was always after 8. And when I get flowing, I'm up till 2, 3 in the morning. And also, I'm old school too, Miss Author Yvonne. I have a dictionary, two thesauruses, everything is laid out on my sofa, and plenty of sticky notes. And I keep a small journal by my bed because, again, around 3 or 4 in the morning, inspirations come to my thought, and I have to write it down before I forget. So to put all those sticky notes and everything together to form that book, maybe that was structure, but it was hard, but it was challenging, and I did it.
That first book, it blows you away. I mean, when I wrote my first book, my husband's in Iraq, and he came home, and I just walked up to him and I said, "Look what I did." And he goes, "What? You wrote a book?" And I was like, "Yeah, I wrote a book," and I was just going to put it on the shelf and do nothing with it. And he was the one encouraging me to go market the book. And it did really well. I won some competitions. It was a good experience, but it was so exciting. It was so, and that's something else that I'm doing now to judge whether or not I'm going in the right direction. If the writing is fun and exciting, I feel like I'm going in the right direction. If it's very stressful, I'm learning how to read that as maybe I need to back off and think about what I'm doing. My first book was amazingly fun, and I put it together, and it was like, didn't think anybody was going to read it. Actually, it was a great read. My second book took me 10 years to write because I wrote it in 5 and I lost all my nerve to get it out. I sat on it for 3 years and then I went back to it. And it was because I rushed to write the book and I was angry. Anybody ever wrote a book in a bad space in their life? And I was angry. And my editor said that. She said, I don't know who you mad at, but this is you got upset with somebody. And I was. I lost my mother. It was just a lot going on. And so it took me a while to kind of get the book out, but once I did, I was very happy that I did. But you really I want it to be an exciting and fun experience for me. This book I'm writing was just a lot of fun. And that's what I'm taking it as. I don't think God wants me to do this and get my blood pressure up to do it. I think it's something that has to flow, has to flow. So great question, Lashandra. Any other questions out there? Please don't hesitate to ask them. In the meantime, we're going to give a few, some positive comments to our writers and our readers out there from each and everyone on the screen. But first, I want to once again invite everyone to Black Ink. May 3rd in New Orleans at City Park, free event. We do ask that you register. The URL to register on Eventbrite is below. Friday night, we have Martinis and Manuscript at Baroness on Baroon, which is a lounge here in New Orleans. If you know anything about New Orleans, a lot of fun. We're going to have some drinks and food and just get to know each other. Saturday morning, 11 a.m., we're going to open the doors and you're there until 3 o'clock. And we have a bunch of activities. And I do encourage everyone to come out, get Ruth's book, get Yvonne's book, get Dee Dee's book. Get these books. They are banning books, everybody. Don't let them make you feel that there aren't significant Black books out there. This is the space to come out and get it. Stay all day. We've got speakers. We've got reading in the garden. We have short film premiere. And that's what it's all about at Black Ink. So let's start with you, Yvonne. Give everyone those closing remarks, that inspiration to our writers and our readers to let them know why it's important that you do what you do. And if there's anything special you're going to have at your table or you're going to do any giveaways, this is a great time to tell them as well.
Okay, so I didn't start out doing this. I was a very shy and introverted girl growing up. It was my mom that gave me a journal, a 5-year journal, because she knew I didn't talk much. And just writing my ideas in that journal. And if I can encourage your children just to write. That's how they get their voice. Just put their voice on paper. And that's what I encourage you to do. If you come to my table, you'll see different books. I've also written a testing book. I know a lot of children are going through testing. Anxiety is also a real thing. But my best is my personal poetry book. It's called Soul Ties Detangled. It talks about my personal experience of going through divorce before, during, and after, and everything that you go through from dating to everything that's in there. I would really love you just to come out, talk with me, read some of the examples that's available. It's a wonderful, this is my 2nd year going to this Black Festival. Last year, I left so inspired. It was the wonderful experience. So please come out. I encourage you to come out and have a good time with us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Love that plug. Come out. She was with us last year. We had a big event last year. And I'm so excited to see you again and so excited that you're being a part of this event. So thank you so much for coming out. Dee Dee, want to give some words of inspiration to our writers out there and our readers?
Yeah. So if you are a writer and a reader, I want to encourage you to keep reading. You can really expand your writing through reading. I'm a writer because I was first a reader. So keep reading, keep finding books that interest you, that align with like things you're interested in, but also maybe outside of your interests. Like I don't really like nonfiction, but I started reading a nonfiction to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone. And then also, if you're going to be a writer, you have to write. So find ways to write, whether that's writing on your phone, which I love that tip, Michelle. I'm going to try that. I always have my phone, don't always have my laptop. So that was a great tip. Journaling is also a great way to write, to start writing, just getting your thoughts down, unblocking your mental creativity to see what might flow, from behind, like what you're stressed about, worrying about bills, taking care of kids, getting through school. Journaling can be a way to like unblock yourself and, figure out where your creativity is. So keep reading, keep writing.
Excellent. And please, everybody, pick up her book. The cover is beautiful. Love what you're doing. Continue to write fantasy. We need more African American fantasy writers. And I'm just looking forward to seeing your book turn into a movie. I'm just gonna put it
Same,
out there. I am really
same.
looking forward to that. I haven't seen Sinners yet, but I'm looking forward to just seeing us being in some different spaces. I love that type of creativity. And so congratulations on everything. Looking forward to meeting you. This is your first year at the book festival. Is that correct?
No,
D?
I was there last year.
You were there
Last
last year?
year. Yeah.
That must be where I got your book from. So yeah, I
Exactly.
was running like a crazy person. So you guys tackle me if I don't get a chance to come to your table. Ruth, talk to us about, give us some words of encouragement. And I know you got a lot to do, so you got to turn out a whole book before next week. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Talk to us.
Like the other authors saying, just continue to journal, write. I was told to just, when I was stuck, my cousin said, Ruth, just buy the book, just journal, get the book. And I finally did it, and it just started flowing. So you have to have that clarity and that transparency, and just to stay dedicated and focused, but don't beat yourself up if it doesn't come to you. It takes time. And when you take time, it flows. And one thing that I wanted to say, when I did a speaking engagement and I got a lot of feedback on this quote that I said, challenge the challenger. And that challenger is you. So challenge yourself to write whatever story, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, children's, fantasy, do it. Who's to say that it's not going to succeed? You succeed by writing it and getting it published. So the reason why I this will be my first year attending, I'm looking forward to it. And I want to say, come on out to the whole event, but come meet me and greet me at my table. Reason to attend is because it's going to be cultivating and colorful and authentic storytelling. Now, the only thing that I can't do is because I'm flying from Maryland to New Orleans, I can't really bring all the stuff that I usually decorate my table. But one thing that I can't bring, but I want to show you, another firefighter made this for me, and this is a replica of me.
Oh, wow. I love it.
And if you can see it, it has the breast cancer symbol to represent that I'm a survivor. But yeah, I get a lot of feedback when I have this on my table. So unfortunately, I can't bring that. So yeah, so if they come see my table, you'll be inspired, and like I said, cultivating. And it's just not about being a firefighter. It's about being a African American female who overcame a lot of struggles. And that, like they said, I might not look the part because I am the part, because I'm here.
Excellent. Excellent. Valerie Wade said, awesome. She's going to be there as well. She's a dynamic writer. Very happy to have her listening in. Somebody at the last interview said it's going to be Black Writers Fan Reunion at Black Ink. And that's exactly how I feel. And so this is going to be just truly an amazing year. I'm really excited about everything. So thank you, ladies, for being with us. Everybody come out to Black Ink, meet everyone on the screen, get an autographed copy of their book. Not only that, buy the book, read the book, and review the book. Okay. That is so important. Do not get caught up in, oh, these are independent writers, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, everybody starts off as a newbie, as an independent writer. Don't get caught up in that as well. Come out and support us and have fun and get to know these wonderful writers who are putting their hearts and mind on the paper and really sharing a part of themselves with the world. Thank you, ladies. Look forward to seeing you next weekend or weekend after next. So stick with us. We're going to end the live stream, but I would like to give you a formal farewell. So to everyone out there, please go out to Eventbrite and register for the event, and be sure to come by. It is Jazz Festival in New Orleans. There's always a festival in New Orleans, but this is Jazz Fest. So it's a great weekend. There are going to be so many people here. Lenny Kravitz going to be at Jazz Fest on Sunday. Do not go don't go out there Saturday before coming to see us first. So we do ask you to definitely do that. But it's going to be a lot of people in the city from all over the world. So it's going to be a great time. So thank you, ladies, for everything. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Also, be sure to join us tomorrow night with our final group at 7 o'clock Central. That's 8 o'clock 8 o'clock Eastern. And also go to our YouTube page where you can read or watch the actual interview from earlier today. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.